everyone, GoodraFTW here, and welcome back to the channel. It's been a while for you boy, but you know, Pokemon Day is coming right around the corner, and I was perusing my phone the other day, and what did I find but just a nice heaping pile of content. So right here we have Polygon's ranking of every Pokemon generation from worst to best. So the interesting thing about this list is it actually includes the spin-off games, which kind of like really makes some of the generations stick out more than others. But this is something I've wanted to do for a little while. I've wanted to go through and rank each generation. And afterwards I want to go through and play each of the mainline games through the generations and see if my ranking changes. So, you know, 30th anniversary, why not jump in and start it now? So what we'll do is we'll go through Polygon's list, and for each one, like when we go to 9, I'll basically say what generation I think is my worst. So here we go, we're going to scroll down, and as we see, Polygon is going to rate Generation 7, the Sun and Moon era, as number 9. So this one, honestly, I kind of agree with. It has been a while since I've played the games, so this very well could change when I do finally go back to replay them. But yeah, this generation just didn't do much, and like the games were kind of simple, and the changes that they made to the gameplay didn't really catch me. So I think for those reasons, right now I'll put it at the bottom. My next generation, I'll talk about why it's not the bottom one here in a second. But yeah, I think this one I definitely agree with. So let's go down and see what number 8 is. They do also have the Let's Go games. They have roped in as spin-offs, which the Let's Go games, despite like what they are, they're really honestly kind of gorgeous remakes. We probably wish that it was more like a Fire Red Leaf Green situation, which, hey, Fire Red Leaf Green for Switch. But you know, I think they're inoffensive, and for a while there, my daughter really liked playing it, and like it has local co-op, which I think is really cool. So I mean, I think the Let's Go games are pretty great at what they do, and hopefully we can see more games in like at least the art style and like the graphical fidelity that they do with that. I think that would please me quite a bit. Okay, yeah, let's go to number 8. Ooh, number 8. We got Black and White. Now, Gen 5, there's a lot of people who really like Black and White. I'll be honest, I don't remember much of Black and White. But one thing I do appreciate about the generation is that the entirety of it was just a whole new Pokedex, which may or may not have worked, depending on who you ask. But I think it's neat. They kind of like did a little bit of a remake of sorts for some of the like Pokemon archetypes they wanted to hit. But honestly, I thought it was fine. Once again, once I replay it, we'll see how that changes. But I know Black and White is pretty beloved by a lot of people, and this is probably when VGC really started taking off. I think it made it a little more accessible than it had been in the past, which is always good. Yeah, I've not played like any of these spinoffs, so I can't tell you how they either affect the generation or not. But my number 8 is actually going to be the current generation, Generation 9. I did not really enjoy Scarlet and Violet. Outside of like the technical issues, I just don't think there was a lot of meat to the game. I struggle with open world games just generally because like I feel like I do really well with a focused, kind of not entirely guided, but like I need things to do, and it was a little too open-ended for my liking. Despite that, that's personal preference. There just wasn't anything to do in the game. Like if you're gonna have an open world, personally, I feel like you have to put things in it, and like you couldn't even go in any of the buildings in any of the cities you went to. And for the longest time, I couldn't remember a lot of their names. It was only after doing Shiny Showdown, which if you haven't seen, go check it out. After doing Shiny Showdown so much with Lady Dunsparce, I finally learned them all. but like there was just not much memorable about the places you go. Now, one thing I will give the most recent generations credit for is the characters. They've been pretty solid. I think they've done really well with the characters. Some other gripes I have with Scarlet and Violet is like I really enjoyed when Pokemon kind of like set you in like a closed arena, because like they could kind of like up the showmanship a little bit. I feel like you lost a lot of the visual flair when they kind of made things happen like seamlessly. Like I feel like it lost a lot of its charm and visual flair when they went over that. And honestly, I hate to say it, but I just don't think Legends ZA is that fun. It's cool to go across Lumiose, but like just didn't do it for me. And like the real-time battles, I feel like I was waiting too much. I described it in Discord the other day as it's just a few scripts like button pressing scripts away from just like an idle RPG. Once again, characters very on point. And then like this generation also, like I think the DLCs for the game were very heinous, more so with Legends EA. I don't think I've honestly not even finished the DLC. I've been trying to stream it when I can, but like it's so repetitive, and like I don't know, it just didn't feel like it was worth it. Hasn't felt like it's been worth the $30 for me yet. So take that for what you will, but in my number 8 spot, I will have to put Generation 9. So let's scroll down and see what Polygon puts at number 7. Hey, not too far off from how we feel. Yeah, the lows is Pokemon Friends. I've not even played that, but I've heard terrible things. The Hidden Treasure Variant Zero DLC. Is that... I feel like that was the second. Honestly, I liked the Blueberry Academy a lot better than I liked Teal Mask. I didn't like Kami very much. But my number 7, this is where things kind of get a little wishy-washy for me, because it has been a while since I've played a lot of the mainline games here, but don't hate me for this, but I think for me, number 7 is going to have to be Generation 1. Granted, for the time, it was probably very, very groundbreaking. Obviously, it was just launched the cultural phenomenon. We thank it for that. But as a game, it's very broken, very glitchy. I don't know, there's a lot of like kind of obtuse things that you have to do in the game, like item management is kind of important, which is like here or there, you know. They kind of made a lot of like item management basically useless in the later game. So if that's something you like to keep track of as you play an RPG, then that's fine. But this is another one I think my opinion might change more when I play the game, because I don't know if I've really given Generation 1 a proper go. But until we play it, right now, Generation 1 is probably going to be number 7 for me. So let's see what Polygon has to say on number 6 spot. What is their number 6 spot? Generation 2. So this one, I totally disagree with this one. For as revolutionary as Generation 1 was, I think Gen 2 really took the formula that they established and ran with it. I think Gen 2 was just a solid experience, which we'll talk about whenever we get to Gen 2. But I think they knocked Generation 2 mostly for the side games. To paraphrase kind of what they read, and like if you want to go read it, obviously go check it out. Apparently during this time period they were more focused on this Pokemon Mini thing, which is like a little Tomodachi thing, if I remember correctly. But they do say that like while their output was pretty low, the games that they did put out, most of them were actually really high quality. So I think this pick is probably more of like I think they're being a little bit of a stickler here, to put Generation 2 here. And it could be just rage bait to get more people to get mad at it and interact with it. Who knows? But my number 6, which I think some people will be upset that Generation 1 is lower than this for me. But honestly, I think my number 6 spot is gonna have to go to Generation 4. Now, while Generation 4 had Heart Gold, Soul Silver, I mean, obviously they're widely considered the best games of the entire franchise. I think the mainline games specifically just kind of ruined it. And now, since we have the Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl remakes, they were extremely faithful to a fault. Because I think it kind of shined a light on just how boring Generation 4 was. I know a lot of people think Platinum is really good. I never personally played Platinum. My brother had it, my brother played it. I think my brother actually really enjoys it. So when we get around to playing Generation 4 again, we might revisit as far... I don't know, I don't see this one going too much from lower to mid. It might actually go down lower on the list when we replay. So I think 6 is probably a good spot for Generation 4. Alright, let's see what Polygon has at number 5, the middle of the road here. This is the smack dab in the middle, the most mid-generation, Generation 8, you know? I actually agree with this one. I was going to put Generation 8 at number 5. I think Sword and Shield get a worse rap than they deserve. I think a lot of people really hated Sword and Shield. But they're kind of the last of almost like the traditional Pokemon formula. Obviously it's not open world. Obviously, well, you do have the one open wild area zone that is a little open and kind of like a beta to the entirety of Scarlet and Violet. And it was fine. I think it ran a little wishy-washy when it first came out. But this is where they still had the randomized arena based on where you encounter Pokemon. I think the graphics for the game are very stylized, which I think makes it look really good. And one thing I like about like the static environments that you're put in, especially when you're battling, is they can kind of like touch up the lighting and they can make it look prettier. But I think they did really well with it. Dynamax was an interesting mechanic for the game. Now, I will admit, story on this game was a little weak, but they did introduce the DLC. They introduced DLC for this game. It was the first one, I think, that they actually had paid DLC for, which I thought they were pretty decent. I mean, it introduced Urshifu, so take that for what you will. But yeah, I don't think Generation 8 is as offensive as a lot of people think it probably is. So I think middle of the road is probably a good place for this one. Oh, one thing I think that Generation 8 that they talk about here that kind of like made it super good, Legends Arceus. I could gush all day about Legends Arceus. I think the gameplay loop for Arceus was great. For the first time in the series, probably, catching Pokemon mattered a lot, which I think was really fun. I loved Arceus. It captured something that ZA just fell flat on. Still had turn-based battles. Encounters could be difficult. Like you had to approach Pokemon in specific ways to catch them or to fight them. So I think Arceus is probably one of the best spin-off games that they've done, at least in recent history. That aside, let's see what Polygon has as their 4th best generation. Generation 6. Yeah, Generation 6. Honestly, I love Generation 6. It may not be obvious, but I love Generation 6. I think it's super solid, and I think 4 is a fair ranking for this one. For my 4th spot, this is where I have Gen 5, which, like I said, these middle of the pack ones, I feel like will fluctuate a lot once I go back and play them, because I just don't remember a lot of these. So Black and White is a little bit of a wash for me. Yeah, I think Gen 5 is probably maybe one of the best of like the mid Pokemon generations. So that's why I'd put it at 4. I don't think there's really anything too deep to go into it until I replay it, but we'll see what happens. All right, now we're in to the top 3. What is number 3? Generation 4. They have 4 at 3. Ooh, I don't know about this one. I don't think... I mean, obviously I put it lower on the list. But yeah, I don't think Generation 4 was this good. Oh, that's why. So they... Heart Gold to Soul Silver is pulling a lot of weight here. But I think as mainline games go, Generation 4 does not deserve the third best generation in Pokemon. For my third spot, I have Generation 6. The first foray into Kalos, one of my favorites, introduced Mega Evolution. I to this day, I think Mega Evolution is probably like the coolest and like most interesting mechanic that they've introduced. Hated Z moves. Dynamax was okay. It was fine. Terrestrialization, I just didn't use it at all in the story. But I think when you get into competitive battling, I think Terrestrialization worked really well for competitive play. But Mega Evolution, I just don't think anything tops Megas. I mean, they brought him back, and we've got a lot of new ones. Granted, I'm really not a fan of a lot of the new ones. They kind of have like a very like spindly like design philosophy that I'm not really on board with. But yeah, Gen 6 is one I just got super deep into. Came out like it was during my freshman year of college, I believe. And so like I had a lot of time in my hands. And it's actually when I started doing YouTube stuff more regularly. Tried to get into competitive battling at this time, so yeah, Gen 6 has a very special place in my heart. All right, the number 2 spot for Polygon's list is going to be Generation 3. For my number 2 spot, I have the second generation. That is mostly because while Generation 2 is my favorite, I don't think it's the best generation. I think it's close. There was just something about the designs of the Gen 2 Pokemon that really grabbed me, like Tyranitar, amazing. The legendary beasts, Suicune, fantastic. Lugia is my favorite legendary. I think Celebi is really cool. And I don't know, the Gen 2 Pokemon just really lit something within me. I just love Gen 2. Yeah, there was just so much to do in Gen 2. I mean, like, you get to play the entirety of Johto, and then you get to go to Kanto and see how things have changed since you may have played it in Gen 1. And that was just really cool to me at the time. I've seen a lot of complaints against Gen 2 where people are like, oh, they didn't put enough in the game, you have to go through Gen 1. It's like, well, I mean, like, Gen 1 didn't have a lot of stuff in the game, and then, like, you still get the entirety of Johto, and then get to do Kanto as, like, a post-game thing, and then you can still do Mount Silver. Like, I don't know. To me, while Gen 2 is my favorite, can't rank it number 1. Oh, let's see what Polygon has as their last one. And I think this is a very cop-out Gen 1. Gen 1 is not the best. I think they were just doing this to appease the boomers, the Poke boomers, if you will, the Gen 1ers. They started the series, they get credit for that, and they did what they did. You know, we know the story. But I think as I've gotten older and been a Pokemon fan for the amount of time that I've been a Pokemon fan, I'm just kind of tired of Kanto at this point. Like, every new thing has to be Kanto, like the Lego sets. It's all Kanto. Why does it have to be Kanto? But this leaves my number 1 spot, and my number 1 spot is going to be Hoenn in Gen 3. Gen 3, I think, is just when they really popped off. And like I said, while Gen 2 is my favorite generation, I think Gen 3 is the best generation. Because you have Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, which people love. Then you also have the Fire Red and Leaf Green Gen 1 remakes, which are super solid. You've also got both GameCube games, Coliseum and XD Gale of Darkness, which are like just so different from what Pokemon had been doing at the time. And like they're really good. They're really fun to play. Yeah, I think Gen 3, they popped off, you know. So that's my ranking. Obviously, there's a lot I disagree with Polygon, but then again, they're they're thinking in the context of more like with spinoffs. But what I'd like to do is go and play every single generation. So go to twitch.tv/Goodra_FTW. Follow me on there, and we will play through all the mainline games for each generation. And also in the comments, let me know what your guys' rankings are. I think it's super cool to just see just what other generations people think are the best, and see how many of the generations kind of pop up in the same spots. So put your rankings down below in the comment section, and go follow me on Twitch so we can play through some of these older games together. And after I've played through all of them, I want to revisit this ranking and see where we stand. Hopefully we'll see you soon. Thanks for watching, and have a happy Pokemon Day.